Leppington is a large suburb located about 50 kilometres from the CBD and has been regarded for the last 100 years or so as the vegetable basket of Sydney. Within 30 kilometres by road to Sydney markets at Flemington, Sydney's main vegetable market, Leppington, with its light, rich clay soils, has long been used to produce vegetables and cut flowers that are sold at the markets to fruit shop owners, restaurants, and food suppliers to the growing population of Greater Sydney. As well as vegetable production, the surrounding area also produces milk from dairy cows and meat from a wide variety of grazing animals such as cattle, goats, sheep, and egg and chicken production as well. But all of this is about to change. With Sydney's population expanding at a rapid pace, the need for affordable housing has recently seen the announcement of the development of the rural land in the Leppington area and surrounded area. To be known as the Southwestern Growth Area, some of the keystone infrastructure included in the development of this are the construction of the Southwestern Rail Link and the upgrading of the Camden Valley Way and Bringjelly Road to dual carriageways. All of this infrastructure will be needed as the land for sale will eventually house a population in a city the size of Canberra. At Oran Park, the place once known for car racing, which has a car racing track on its southwestern border, is a large property that is home to a large grazing and dairy enterprise. However, the demand for blocks of land has seen this land recently released, with people camping overnight so as not to miss their dream block in their new suburb. Added infrastructure such as schools and kindergartens in the area would also put more further pressure on the land once used for growing and grazing cattle and dairy cows. In this little park that has been put aside for future development, statues indicate what used to be standing here. The beautiful dairy cows and cattle that once grazed the area are now just statues in a park. And it's not just Oran Park. Houses are rapidly replacing arable farmland in the southwestern growth area at an alarming rate. Some farmers have relocated further out of the Sydney area, locating themselves in areas such as the Southern Highlands, where soil is poorer and fertilisers needed to be added, and lower winter temperature mean that heated glasshouses are needed to produce food. This also increases the cost, as well as the added distances that are needed to transport the food to the market. This is often called the carbon footprint, or sometimes called the food miles, meaning that food has to be transported further to the Sydney market, adding to the carbon footprint and also adding to the cost. Sydney is a rapidly growing city, but this sort of urbanisation of agricultural lands on the city fringes is happening all over the world. As people move to the cities to find work and economic rewards that can't be found in rural towns, more and more pressure is being put on agricultural production in these localised areas. In Havana, Cuba is a world leader of urban agriculture. After the collapse of the Soviet bloc, food production was decentralised from large mechanised state farms to urban cultivation systems. Today, more than 50% of Havana's fresh food produce is produced within its city limits, using organic compost and simple irrigation systems. After the collapse of the Soviet bloc in 1989, Cuba had less dependence on food imports and agricultural inputs that was supplied to them by the Soviet bloc. The US embargo also created a shortage of petrol necessary to transport the food from the farms in the rural agricultural sector to the city. This marked the beginning of a serious food shortage that shook the entire country, but most of all Havana. In other parts of the world, roof gardens are being recruited to produce vegetables, feeding the residents below. In Australia, increased food prices and the interest in growing your own food has seen the growth of community gardens across the suburbs. This demonstration at Ride TAFE College, students are learning how to manage a teaching garden that will be suitable for use in areas such as schools or community groups. This garden uses permaculture principles, which means that we don't use any chemicals here to grow the vegetables or to control pests and diseases, and all the fertilizers used are totally organic. Other projects include this one at Sydney Parklands in Western Sydney, where land has been set aside for farming enterprises of a larger nature. By leasing the land to the farmers at an affordable price, the hope is that vegetable production will still be viable within Sydney's expensive real estate, providing Sydney's population with food into the future. All of these projects highlight the need for urban food production. However, this needs to be implemented at the planning stage before the development takes place. Many people still will want to grow their own food, and this needs to be thought of when planning. More and more food production will be integrated into urban development, and this will mean lower food miles and probably better produce.